Evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Um, Luckily, my kids had off Friday and they have off Monday since it's a bank holiday, so we've been able to kick it, spend some time together, not think about the market. But getting back to it, guys, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go over some of the top headlines. We're gonna go over the watch list, economic calendar, all that good stuff that we need to be concerned about. This over here. There we go. Um, so anyway, uh, let me go move this over here, and let me go let everybody know that I am live one more time, and then we're gonna go ahead and get to it. How was y'all's weekend? By the way, if you guys are just hopping on, just to give you guys a quick update, if you're outside of the Discord, we have updated all of our prices. Towards the end of the month, we'll have trials if you guys are brand new. But if you guys are also on the old membership, I have already canceled your subscription, and all you have to do is just sign back up. So remember, please save your key. Anyway, that's it. We'll just leave that where it's at. To go over the news, just as far as top headlines are, going over the weekend and recapping over last week's movement, we saw the S&P up 1.51%. We saw the NASDAQ up 0.73%, the Russell 2.25%, and the Dow Jones 1.99%. Not much. And if you take a look at the chart, SPY looking like an absolute dumpster fire as in terms of trend here. So anyway, a couple of top headlines here. Stocks obviously experienced another volatile week, but came out slightly green. Technical analysis, we're closely watching the breadth chart and the US dollar for clues as what's possibly going to happen next. September non-farm payroll report sent risk assets into a tailspin because the strong job market means higher rates for longer, despite some indicators that the labor market is slowing. It's not happening as fast enough for the Fed to back off on its tightening efforts. Energy commodities and stocks extended their gains as OPEC cut production and uh, by double the expected 1 million barrels per day, which brings me to our swing trade. If you guys are in MRO, this was us. We got a really awesome fill on this one, and we're looking to take this one possibly to all-time highs. The decline in semiconductor stocks continued at the AMD and Samsung pre-announced worse than expected earnings. Safe sectors of the market were finally experiencing weakness as AT&T shares traded down to their lowest level since 1995. Twitter shares obviously rallied as Elon Musk revived his deal. Cannabis stocks moved on the Biden administration pardoning, not if anything, I'd be looking for a short on that. Credit Suisse shares rallied more than 20% in the face of everyone predicting its demise last weekend. Louisiana Treasurer is putting the state's money back where its mouth is, roughly $8 million from BlackRock funds over the firm's ESG policies. Other than that, guys, that is about it. As far as the economic calendar, if you guys want to make sure that you have it for yourself, there is an event posted in the Discord. But as far as website Forex Factory, right here, you guys can take a look for yourself. We have right. All right. So Monday's obviously the bank holiday. We do have FOMC Brainerd speaking. But as far as the whole week, top what we're going to be watching: PPI month over month, core PPI month over month, FOMC meeting minutes, and CPI month over month, year over year, and month over month on Thursday. So really, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday are going to be some of our top high impact data points. You guys can see right here, tons of data coming in towards the end of the week. So we may get that bounce that we were looking in Monday or Tuesday, or the market could continue its trend and then chop up into that CPI. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled. It is always good to look back at the last month and go see how price action performed during that CPI. So if we don't see the volume that we need this week, guys, it is no questions asked. We don't trade. And knowing when to trade and knowing what not to trade is one of the most important things that you can learn and have down pat. And that's the main thing that you're looking for is being able to identify price action. So, all right. So that's our economic calendar. Now, it brings us to, I don't know why the hell I just typed in earnings. I know. I'm losing it. Earnings right here, going into this week. Now, nothing crazy. There are a couple ones that I would, this one especially, Ass Incorporated. Definitely going to be looking at a play on that one. See if we can't drop it down low. Pepsi might be of interest. Domino's, Walgreens. That's about it. But banks coming in heavy on Friday. Okay, and then we kick it off next week, which means if I'm going to take an earnings trade, I might start looking at taking those trades Monday and Tuesday, going really far outside of the money and leaving it there. Now, this, of course, we want to make sure that our expirations are good, but Tesla, Netflix, uh, Johnson Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin, IBM, Alcoa, Snapchat, AT&T, and then the next week where we go ahead and we kick it off hardcore. So we got to get ready for earnings season, see how the market responds. If you don't like earnings volatility, stick with things commodity based, probably just like oil or something like that. Anyway, so that's about it. I'm taking profits on this little BTC. I'm putting in. Awesome, James. Looking forward to having you in there, man. Make sure to if you guys are in the Discord, definitely would like it, as owner feedback, you guys definitely can unmute yourself. Definitely ask more questions, especially when I'm on live and I have nothing better to do other than narrate. So, all right. That brings me to our weekly watch list. Okay. Now, I do want to really quickly highlight something. If you guys are not in the Discord, the free part of it, I posted this today. And this is just as far as if you guys need any help, or sometimes it's just good to have structure, right? And so this is my monthly, or I guess if you want to call it, my Sunday prep, right? So this is what part of it looks like. And I know that this might not be relevant to a lot of you who've already been doing this, but if you're brand new, Sunday, this is exactly what I like to do as far as making sure that I have everything prepared and ready for the week ahead, because Sunday is ultimately very, very important in order to make sure that you have the higher time frame structures. So this is about right here if you guys want to screenshot that, or if you want to go into the Discord and make sure that you leave a react. I like how the chart's coming through on it. But these are two things just to keep in mind as far as what I do going into Sunday, going into the rest of the weekend. So, all right. Anyway, let's go ahead. How much do you do in my trades? My trades can range from $1,500 to 6,000, at the high end. So excuse me. All right. So let's go ahead and let's go over the weekly watch list. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys what that watch list is. So that way you guys know exactly what it is that I am watching. So what I can do here, right? Oops. So I'm not gonna be watching Baba, right? But I do, as far as the watch list is concerned, I am going to be watching PayPal this week. I do think that the speculation, and some of the especially the whole like you can't delete your account thing, I'm going to be looking more into it. We don't get sucked into that type of fake news and stuff like that, but we want to make sure that we're not that were paying attention to this one, but this one has an interesting setup, looking kind of bullish, but also holding a price target down around $57, or on the lighter end, just 70. But if this thing was to fall any lower, I would be looking to take a short on it. It has a weekly bull flag and adverse to the news. So if people end up trying to short it, they might end up trying to squeeze that up and out. So PayPal will be on the watch list. Meta, of course, is on the watch list, moving down towards its trend line. This one actually broke its lows on Friday, surprisingly. And then, of course, Tesla, which absolutely dumped. Those are police. Whoop. Um, but absolutely dumped. And I actually expect this one possibly with futures. We'll see how it looks to potentially gap down here. So last one on the watch list is MRO. Now this one's still good. I like the weekly candle close, especially above the 26.75 and 27.35 level. I'd really, really like to see moving into this week ahead of us to move up into and hold above $29.10. There's a little bit of a gap here that could be finished filled at $30. But I just want to remind you guys that I will be holding these contracts as they are expiring November 18th, a long time. We do have a hedge. If you guys remember, we absolutely fucking crushed what is just the beginning of a trade. Okay. We crushed this one because up at the top, we took a little bit of profit at 110 to 105. Some people had even higher. And then we actually took a weekly, next week's expiring short, and that was up, I think, around 50%, closing out the rest of the day. So this one, I'm looking for either a simple, which it's already retested 27.65, just like I talked about, and or 27.35. I'll take profit. If we fall back into that area, I will go ahead and start looking at rehedging myself if necessary. But this one this one's going out long, so I might even roll my contracts out into December. Next one that we got is obviously Tesla. Now, I want to start with you guys on the weekly time frame before we get ahead of ourselves. So number one, I want you guys to really pay attention to this price action because it's really interesting here. The box, right, that we're currently in, this one is, and this actually spanned, kind of across here. All right, so right there, and then right there. So what we have right now on Tesla is essentially you open that weekly candle inside of the box and you actually fell right there. So I do and am anticipating the weekly S1, right? That's going to be 216. And then you also have where these wicks bounce off of, which we could see slower price action leading us down to 210. Now, ultimately, when we hit that support, we're going to be looking at the daily and seeing how price action performs. As you guys can see right here, you get a little bit of a bounce, but all in all, you do end up hitting that 208 or 210 target. And so when and if we do end up making our way down there, I would be looking for a bounce and a retest of 233. And depending on how the market moves going into earnings season and after CPI, right? After CPI, that is when I feel like I can take a more definitive position on Tesla. Did I expect this one to dump as hard as it did on Friday? Absolutely not. But the fact that it did dump so hard, I think that there is and it's actually been filled, but there is these two supports that I'm going to be watching here. So I'll be looking for, just to wrap this up, I want to look for a bounce on Tesla going into this next week, approaching these lows. And then at the same time, also looking for a potential break of those lows to take us, possibly even further. I've got a target of obviously $200, which would be scary for a lot of folks. But we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and let's move to Meta. All right. So as far as Meta is concerned, this one, right? We got to trade with the boxes. As you guys can see right there, strong candle close to the downside. Same thing here, okay? Look at this candle close outside of the box. Now, this does not mean that we cannot go and retest because the difference, right, in volume and even distance shows us that this is an extremely bearish candle, and this is an extremely, well, relatively bearish candle, right? Decent break to the downside. But if we were to gap up, right, and this is where tomorrow morning, I hope you guys are on live with me in the Discord. You guys can, if you guys aren't members of the Discord, I'll try and take a look at whatever it is that you're looking at in the morning on YouTube if I can. We're gonna go live at 9, but I'll usually be live at about 8 o'clock in the Discord on a Monday. So this one again, if we gap up, I would be looking for a bounce, an actual retest of the median of 137.85 before Monday or Tuesday. If we open below, that could be a retest point, but ultimately I'd be looking for Meta to continue to the downside with a target of 122.30. And that's on the daily time frame. As far as the lower time frame, we'll cover that more. But as you guys can see, it looked like it might want to give a little bit of a retest here towards the end of the day. And there's more definitive and clear levels. I will post them in my PotterStocks channel in the Discord if you guys are curious. So that way you guys can have them on paper and compare them and contrast them to your chart. And hopefully you guys are at the place where you are making and developing your own trades, right? If you've been with me or trading with me for a minute, I discussed this last week. It is of interest for you to go ahead at some point when you feel confident enough, not until you feel perfect, but until you feel confident enough to compare and contrast and shut me out. You need to not listen to me at some point because it's not when you're comfortable that when changes happens, right? I'm here to teach you, and then that way you can use me as like a tether as you go out and try and do it on your own. Because as you do it on your own, right, and as long as you're using good risk, you should be putting yourself in situations where you're going to learn. And of course, if you're new, we want to make sure that when we're doing these things, we're doing them with money that we're okay with not having potentially because we're new. And that's exactly what happens when you're trying to become your own trader. So I did not do Apple. It might be because of the new Discord channel, Crazy Uncle, but I may have muted you if you left your microphone on. So maybe. Sometimes we hear some interesting things on live, and I just have to, I gotta mute the mic. Digging this dry gin towards the end of the live. It's Sunday. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and no. Okay. I'll take a look at it. Shoot me a DM and I'll take a look at your membership. All right. So, Meta, Tesla. Now let's take a look at PayPal here, actually, really quickly. So I'm not going to dig into this one too much, but and I've seen a couple, I actually was just watching some dudes live. There is a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but here's the number one thing. Yes, this did have what appeared to be a little bit of a flag, right? A cup and handle-ish type setup, or this could have ended up being a broadening channel. Ooh. But what we really want to focus on here is where our levels are at, where we closed, right? So it looks like we closed right around there. So that is 289.85. That is your pivot point on the daily here. That is where you closed. Obviously, you opened a whole lot higher. And then what we could also, and we'll look down here on the lower time frame, but this is pretty bearish, right? Big pop, big drop, big pop, immediate loss of all of those gains. Took you 3 days to make it, took you 1 day to take it, right? Back down on the 9-day moving average, there's a small gap above you. But if you are going to fall, this one does have a really nice gap to fill at 87.65. And of course, if they open it up down in that gap, and we'll see where they open it up, but if they open it up down in that gap, then it's going to be off limits until we get a nice candle close We can short it below the pivot point, and we'll watch and look on the lower time frames, such as the hourly, and see how price action develops. But more or less, we want to make sure that we're being careful here. There's a bunch right here, 89.50. We've got 89 even, right? Big wick off of that. So this whole, in fact, that's probably going to be your lower time frame zone. So it's going to be of interest to break down below that. And so I would say 89.15 or $89 for the gap fill pivot point retest. And then also, right, there is the potential for trend. We'll see how this plays out. I'm not exactly sure. I don't trade PayPal often, but it's not a terrible stock to trade, especially if it has good volume. Levels above us, right? Because really don't, I'm not really going to touch it, but it definitely, if retail short, then that means that any excuse to take this long, they will absolutely do it, and they will fill this gap to the upside. So targets to the upside and near the entries to the upside could be areas around 91.82 and or above 92.85. Obviously, candle close with volume, something bullish would be preferred there. So, all right. All right, so that's it. That is PayPal. If you guys have any requests, go ahead and dollar sign and ticker name, and we'll go ahead and finish out the night. If you guys have any questions, right, about whatever it is, this is why I do this, uh, try and do this every night. And again, if you guys are watching this later on, if you guys are not following my new TikTok, I post that in the announcement page of the Discord. And please, if you guys want any information about the Discord, I know I alert a lot, but that is where I alert the most, and the most important things are posted. So if you guys have a question, you probably may have missed it inside of the announcement post. So, so James, this is I do have a channel where I post future trades and charts and setups and stuff like that. But I also have, and we're gonna take this away. But we're gonna get rid of, we have like choose your roles. So um let me go ahead and do this. All right, I actually just had to update that. So make sure you select your role, so that way you can see my channels. Most importantly, just getting rid of these. Okay, perfect. Uh, but for the most part, whenever I do post alerts, they're going to be swing trades. I do, if I can, post day trades, but most of my day trades can span from 15 minutes to, 30 minutes. And I'm in the business of not just signaling, I'm trying to teach you. And I know that it's not everybody has time for live, but that's where I put the most amount of my attention. And if I can't signal, due to time, price action, sometimes by the time I even signal, it's too late. And that's not what I want to do, um, for people. So a lot of times I'll give you levels, setups in advance, but other than that, I try not to signal anything that's shorter expiration, and just signal things like swing trades and longer day trades. So, all right. Yeah, I actually remember mentioning AMD to the downside, and it just hellaciously dumped. Uh, I do believe that this one could bounce, but crazy dump. Absolutely crazy dump. All right. So let's go ahead and get into your guys' charts. The first one that I see here is XOM. This one, ooh, ooh, damn. It looks like right now, I don't have time to explain this. And I know some of you guys are probably wondering, why the hell did this old ass broken trend line here break back up and bounce to the upside, right? And there's a lot of different people use GAN fans. People use, a series of different. I think there a lot of them are over here. Pitchforks, right? Uh, Fib speed resistance fan, pitch fan, and I think that this is kind of where those things start to like become slightly relevant. But obviously I'm not really going to I don't want to get into that right now, but you have reclaimed trend. We'll just call it what it is, right? Now, that being said, the fact that you dumped so hard and really you squeezed the upside, prices even over the weekend have gone up. I expect for MRO and other stocks to potentially gasoline and oil stocks to continue to move up to the upside. And even on the weekly candle, right, things become a little bit more clear. Now, what is most important, right? We closed right there barely. Now you did not barely. Let me rephrase that. You actually closed relatively strong. And this is where your candles closed at 98.35. That seemed to be where you dumped, where you rejected, 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 rejected. And so that being said, right, I think that it would be of interest in order to get up and out of this zone to either A, open this candle above 101 or 102. Whether you gap fill or not is fine. But then at that point, I would like to close and wick fill 105.86. And at that point, I think you would be well on your way to what it would likely be XOM's all-time highs. Otherwise, if you were to reverse and hightail it to the downside and just dump, that would likely keep you in range and oil would be off limits as it continues to stay in range, right? So knowing when to trade, knowing when to not trade, and knowing when the stock has a higher probability setup for you. All right, so that's XOM. Let's go ahead and move down. We've got Apple. All right, so I know we'll start on since it's Sunday, we'll start on the weekly. All right, so number one, take a look at the candle closes here. Now you're just hovering barely above that. Now we'll call it what it is. It's at 140. That's a psychological number. Bounced off 137.85. It's pretty close. You could see a small gap down, but more than likely. And I was looking at SPY and other stocks. Right, this is starting to really look and wedge out, in my opinion. And looking at the trend even right here. Now you did break out or push past that trend, but you reclaimed that trend, right? And you can go and look on the 4 hour, or excuse me, on the daily, and I guess not actually. Yeah, so you can go right here and see that it did end up reclaiming that trend. But most importantly, right, again, we want to make sure that we're aware of where our key levels are at. Sorry, right there. So one of the reasons why Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays, a lot of the times this right here on the 4 hour, you push down and then the next day's open. That's when you end up having enough volume to break back up. And again, it's always a retest. And that's when you have to evaluate price action, watch the tape, and see whether or not you're going to break and hold above that. But we closed at that 140 mark here. So either A, that was your support, or B, we should be on our way back down to 138 27, and I would say maybe even just a fragment layer or lower. Otherwise, yeah, I would say 137 is a good level to watch for Apple. Otherwise, if we were to continue lower, the next psychological number is 135. But in order to stay in trend, that's where I believe Apple should go. Now, this zone, if you open up back in this zone, then watch for a gap fill, actually. So a good entry could be above 143.28. Good setup. You're in the zone, right? Now you have a chance to position yourself. All right, next one is AMD. So this one, I can't. It's unfortunate. I wish I wish I'm at this point. I'm like I need to start a fund, and have like a bunch of people working for me trading, the fund because straight up, this one I just mentioned that it was gonna dump, and sure as shit, it just ended up free falling, all Friday, and it did do it on actually really high volume. AMD did not have low volume on Friday. It had a high volume. It had really high volume, actually, looking at it. Um, as far as trend is concerned, so I haven't looked at this since it fell. Okay, I like that better. AMD 55.25. Yes, sir. So that's where you're at. This will help you make sense of where the hell you are at on the chart. Check it out. You ready? This is actually really, really cool that we are able to find that zone specifically because this now gives you targets up and down. So if you open up below 58, right, or we'll call it $59. If you open up below $59, then the retest point would be 59, maybe $60. But if you open up, like let's say we gap down something vicious. If you gap down and move down to 54, I'm going to go ahead and call it at you've got a 75% mark at 55. You've got the bottom setup right here that is 52, and then I don't even have to, that's, yeah, that's 50, basically $49 even. So this is kind of that little zone that you're trading in right here. So that's what I'd be watching for is if you open below that, I'd be looking for the 55.25. There's obviously going to be a median in here. This looks like 53.71. And it is a median. It's just kind of ugly. But right there. And so getting through that, I would say that your support, and there's even a little bit of a gap to fill here at $50. So that's what I'd be looking for on AMD if you continue to the downside. And that would be possibly in confluence, right? Because one of the things that I'm looking for on a Friday is confluences. They're very, very important. That's a confluence, right? Now I can always go and add my EMAs or anything like that on the weekly, the daily, and see if any of them line up. Obviously, they're most, if not all of them, are trailing behind us, something crazy, which means, if we can see a little bit of a relief, we know what that means. So, um, all right. So the next one is SPY. All right. So same thing, right? Candle closes matter big time. If we're going to continue lower, if we're going to continue higher, take a look at that. It's almost like a robot, right? Look at that. Bam. Damn. The price is controlled at 361.60. Every single one of those candles closes. This time it bounced, it held above 362.64. Now, if we fall any lower, currently we are around the weekly 200-day moving average. Now, most of the time, most of the time, most of the time, even most of the time, you're not going to fall right through it, right? Hardly, if not ever. Mhm. Sorry. Dad, I'm alive. I'm giving my son a bath, but we will rewatch the live tonight. All right. I guess that's important. What is living in my vent? Oh, is it my fan? My fan needs to be rescrewed. What points do I use in the boxes? I'm just using the candle closes, guys. Candle closes. Damn, I'm way off in the future. Candle closes ultimately are the most important thing to me, especially daily 4 hour. As a day trader, those are the most relevant. That shows me where price is controlled. Did it fall below it? Yes, but where it was ultimately controlled was around 361. The top of those candles are around 362. Still in that little tiny box or range down here at the bottom. But these boxes, right? Candle close, wick, candle close, bounce, right? So all those things matter when I'm trying to find those things. So, but anyway, so here's the deal. Below it, right? You have a little bit, and again, this is just how things work. You could gap down to 360. Okay. 360 is an option. 360, retest, maybe a gap fill. You could look for a rejection. If you close above it, I would say anywhere above 364.38, you will be going to the median here. Let me mark that too as well. So right about there, I would be looking for a potential long entry up into the 366, 366.50 area. 366 low volume, 366.50 higher volume. Below that, right, that's where we could see the danger zone. But I think that we might be, guys, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we might be in for some deep chop. We might be in for deep chop. Just being the fact that we're at that 200-day moving average, and we're still going to be, depending on where we open. I haven't seen futures. It doesn't look like they're fucking horrendously dumping right now. Close with a hammer. Looks like futures are going to turn green, possibly. They could. I had a little wedge there, little gap that needs to get filled, 36.50, which means futures could end up running 366 right there. This 50% of the pattern itself. 366, 62.25. And then that could open us up with a channel, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, sorry. All right, so SPY, or we got SPY. AMD DKS. Dick's Sporting Goods. That broke out of that wedge that I drew. It broke it down out of that wedge too. Damn. Dang. Huge big green dingus on earnings stuff. All right, so we're gonna ignore that right now. It's not relevant. Oh, shit. That is it. That is it. Right there. All right. So we're getting candle closes here, candle closes there. You- Price action barely meets that. So it looks like you need to move back up above 1125 and 114.22. Candle close above 117 bullishly, and I would go ahead and call for a break to the upside off of this bounce. Because this big bounce right here could be could be sign a continuation to the upside. But ultimately, Dick's Sporting Goods, I don't know how much they're benefiting off of this whole thing. But 104.50 would be a level to watch anywhere below your pivot point of 107.30. So, what would you be recommend future or option for beginner as far as a stock? Awesome, Johnny. Thank you guys. Make sure to leave a like. Go leave a comment on one of the videos on TikTok, guys. I'm trying to grow it big time. I do really appreciate you guys' help with that. It's been picking up. Getting hammered though. That Charlie guy is still reporting all my videos. Um, so like Spy, and I'm sure kind of like Apple. Now this one closed a little bit differently. All right. Now we do have the wicks right there, and that, and yeah, candle close. So Microsoft would have to get above 235.55. 235.55 candle close. Obviously, we have 236 right here, which says it's the pivot, but I say 235.55. Looking at the hourly, right? A open, right, above 235. So if futures curl up like they're doing and we open up a little bit to the upside, I would expect maybe a quick gap fill, but then ultimately a bounce back up and watch for a move to 237.80. 237.80 would be my mark to watch at least. Maybe I would say the median here is 238. So watch 238 here on Microsoft if you reclaim that level. If not, we need to be looking at the weekly, where we can see that the next major leg down or next mark, right? And just close there and there. All right, so Microsoft, right? The next leg down, and I think as far as a leg up, yeah, 230. Yeah, look at 237 right there. Absolutely. So you could see a 237 retest, and then ultimately you could see 227.85, and I would say 225.50 would be another targeted downside. Oh man, that hurts my soul. That hurts my soul. Neo, I honestly think this $3. I think it goes down to dollars. I think it goes down to IPO. I almost want to take a long put. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the longest put I can possibly take for like $5. Maybe after earnings. They're probably getting fucking beaten right now with everything. Okay, so anyway, that being said, sorry, that shit gets me kind of gassed up. Righty then. 1531. Okay. Watch Neo below 13.25 and basically $13. So 13.25 is $13 even. And at that point, there's actually a gap to fill at 12.50 and $12. And then the floor would be $11 even. Obviously, this is on a higher time frame, so you could see it even lower. But that's the downside. Anything to the upside is going to happen over 1572. Someone's cooking tortillas. I can smell it. Dude, I made some steak tacos yesterday. I would deliver it to a taco truck for them to try. That's how good they were. I'd be like, "Would you please rate my tacos?" They were gas. I don't even remember how I made them. I do actually. Never mind. What am I talking about? All right. Oh shit, man! What a garbage chart. Funny how that works. Okay, so. Um, it looks like Bank of America should bounce around 30.27. I would say anywhere below that. And you are probably in store for a pretty nice sizable move down to 29. I'd say 29.60 or S1, but ultimately it'd probably be about 29.50 to the downside. Now you do have what appears to be, and we'll see what we open up like, and they have earnings this week. But this one does have a little bit of a channel here. So we'll see if that channel leads you up or out. And of course, anywhere below 30.27, that would lead you down. So Uber, I'm hungry again. Damn. I'm not gonna do that trend line right there because it's stupid. There's no point. But this is not bullish, in my opinion. At least not at the moment. All right, so clearly Uber has a gap up above it. But let me highlight this area. So this would be the area of concern for me at the moment. Now, I will say, and maybe I should bring that down. Yeah, I should bring that down. And then that would make a whole lot more sense right there. 27.55 or 27.60. Okay, so here's what I would say. Any gap down below 27 or below 27.90, 27.75. In this zone, I'd be looking at 27.60 and then the gap fill here, but first bounce at 27.15 and then next leg down would have you at 26.85 for that full and entire gap fill. A bounce back up and any reversals I'd be watching to happen above 28.63, and of course $29 even for a gap fill back up to the upside. So all right, so the Qs, and we'll go ahead and close the night out at the QQQ right here, and we'll go ahead and see you guys tomorrow morning. Remember, you guys, if you're not signed up with the Discord, we did have the price change. You guys can check that out right here. But we also, if you guys lost your subscription, I'm just reminding you because this is really important. Tomorrow morning, don't panic. You just have to sign up, but for less. So redo it. Okay. It's a tough one, man. So you got a pretty bearish candle here, but not fully closing below my level of 265. Really, I have 265, and then I've got 254.85 to the downside here, 254.75, I suppose. Um, yeah, 261.85. So I would say that a gap down, watch for a gap down here to this level or this level. So 260.85 and 252.85 for the Qs. No, I don't only use technical analysis. I use a variety of different things when coming to a conclusion. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Go spam the TikTok. I hope to see you guys bright and early to prep for tomorrow's trade. Make sure you guys have a plan. If you haven't chosen a strategy, maybe this is the time to do so. If you've been failing, stop doing that thing that you thought you were that was gonna work for you, because it's not. If you've just gone on a streak when you first got started, there's your sign. So go ahead and move on and make sure that you're picking a strategy that works with your strategy or with your availability, um, and as well as just your overall, like, can I handle this type of trading? Can I handle scalping, fast money, or do I need something a little bit more slow pace? Swing trading, so I can set targets, goals, hard stops, and things that, obviously, like MRO, you can hold for a couple of days and continue to watch them play out. So anyway, have your plan, play your plan, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. So anyway, thanks guys. Peace. Have a good night.